Namaste, sir. I am Niharika. I am from ICFI Law School, first year BLLB student. I aim to be a human rights lawyer one day and hopefully a future ambassador in the United Nations.
Oh, wonderful. That's great aspiration to have. All the best. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, sir.
I'm Richa Singh. I'm doing my BA LLB honors from ICFI Law School, Hyderabad as well. I aim on specializing in environment law and animal welfare law. And I also want to go to the UN someday.
Oh, wonderful. All the best to Richa.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, our first question was career-wise, how can one use the help of spirituality to find our true purpose? Because there are a lot of ways in which one can get deviated or, move out of the track.
Spirituality and moving forward in career. That's a good question. Let's see. One thing which I can think about, we have four energies that we work with, right? Physical energy that gives us the endurance and the forbearance to deal with whatever is going on at the physical level, right? Second is emotional energy that helps us to deal with the ups and downs and disappointments and excitement and the emotional intelligence to deal with various ups and downs of life. Then you need the intellectual energy that helps you to come up with creative and innovative answers that are better than what are expected, so that you can actually top the class, or you can do the unexpected, and you can go to the top intellectually quite nicely. Okay, and that can also allow you to write books, write articles, do cartoons, create songs, variety of ways in which non-traditional way of being a diplomat, being a lawyer, you may be able to get attention of right kind of people. Then comes the fourth one, which is the spiritual energy. What is the value of spiritual energy in students' life or in a life of an early career of a young person, a young lady? What I would say is, while your intellectual, physical, and emotional are something you try to focus on having control of these three, and you having the ability to direct your energies in a meaningful way, spiritual energy is something you have no control of, right? Number two, spiritual energy in my mind connects with three things that might have implications on your career. One, I would say, is giving you purpose. Why do you do what you do? So like a friend of mine, one Raghu, keeps asking a question. When you are doing what you are doing, what are you truly doing? What does it mean? When you say you want to be an ambassador, you want to complete the law and you go to United Nations and then you want to be an ambassador, in being an ambassador, in doing the role of an ambassador, what are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to prove it to? Why do you want to do what you want to do? So what is the purpose for your aspiration to be a what you call a human rights diplomat or animal rights a lawyer, or both of you wanting to go to United Nations? So why is the question. The second thing that also connects with the spiritual in terms of coaching is it gives you meaning. What does it mean, gives you meaning? Once I was talking to MBA school dean, he was telling me majority of the top rankers, this is one of the premier business schools in the country, IIM Bangalore. I was talking to the dean, and then he was saying, the first and foremost, he said, for past 5 years, my students looked for either consulting jobs like McKinsey or some such things, or they went for what you might call a bank, to do capital, to become investment managers, investment banks, that type of stuff they went for. Because they pay the highest, they can really mint a lot of things. He said recently, there are a few more people who are looking at starting their own company, entrepreneurial stuff. But it used to be less, but it is progressively becoming more. But what he observed was about 20 to 25% of the people who have chosen, who were the top rankers in the school, who have chosen the investment banking career or consulting career, between 3 to 7 years in that job, he said they come back and say, we made good money, we made good progress in our career, but it looks empty. Somehow what we are doing does not seem to have any heart in that. Then they came back and found jobs with some non-profits, or they have taken on some causes that are of more closer to their heart, rather than which are logically, understandably much better paying, much better names and titles, bullet points for you to show off, saying I work for McKinsey, or I work for Goldman Sachs, or I work for something else. They are willing to go for nameless companies and small type of things. Why is that? Because they found making money without having a meaning for it. They understand that reason and logic, but logic and reason are not alone good enough for people to invest, like a 16, 18 hours a day for months on end, sometimes years on end, in a meaningless job. As a matter of fact, when you look at recently the COVID, what it seems to have done, in the last year, they started talking about what is called a great resignation. People are no longer willing to put up with the same conditions that they put up in their jobs before the COVID situation, because the COVID gave them an ability to think about, why am I doing what I am doing? And for what I'm putting in, what I'm doing is not good enough, and I want to do something else that is more meaningful for me. So purpose is the first one. Why do I do what I do? Second, do I find meaning in my job? Is what I do meaningful? Can I tell my grandkids? Can I tell my children that I do this and they can be proud of me? If it is not, a lawyer becomes a liar. Like majority of the times people say, lawyers and the used car salesmen are the two sets of people most times don't like. Why is that? They say you don't tell the truth. So that means in a situation where you have taken on defense of something to find justice to certain beliefs that you have, you need to have integrity. And that integrity comes when you find meaning in what you are doing. When you find purpose, and if you work for meaningful stuff, automatically your passion for what you do increases significantly. Because young children always have passion, if you notice. We beat the passion out of them by the time what you call the 5th grade is completed. How do you know? Somebody did a research checking how many questions children ask in the elementary school. By the way, it is 12 to 18 questions in a day. By the time they go to the high school, they may go to 3 to 4 questions. By the time they complete the high school, they hardly ask any questions. As a matter of fact, they shy away from asking questions. Why is that important? When you are passionate, you are not going to wait for somebody to complete what they are saying and what they are doing, because you want to know. But why? No, stop. That's boring. Tell me about this. This is what I want to do. Like my son, when he was growing up, he used to see every week, we used to have a big garbage trucks come and collect the garbage in front of our house. So when I asked him, what do you want to do when you grow up? He said, I want to be a garbage truck driver. Why is that? Because he looked at it, these big machines, like the movies, science fiction movies where they come out of spaceships, like that these garbage truck people are coming and taking these garbage things and then dumping it. And then, it's very fancy for a young kid. That looked very attractive. Of course, later he changed it to want to work with kids. He said, I'll either be a pediatrician, I'll be a high school teacher or a teacher, which is what he has been doing. He has been teaching for 11 years in the school. The key thing it comes down to is spirituality connects you to three most important parts of who you are. Why are you the way you are? What gives you meaning in your life? Third, what makes you passionate and wake up every day getting excited about living and doing what you do? So spiritual energy is the most important because it gives you possibility. It gives you a future that is not predicted based on your past. It is not something like think about it in this way. Every child who does not have any kind of physical deformities can walk, can talk, and can see, right? But, for example, my granddaughter, right now, she is, as of day before yesterday, she was 7 months old, okay? For example, crawling, moving, creeping, and all of them. But she sits up and she does a lot of wonderful things and all of that. Whereas my grandniece, who is about 2 weeks younger than this girl, she is all over the house and she's trying to stand and she's trying to do everything. So according to developmental milestones, one girl is very fast, one girl is a little bit slow. Now, if I spiritually look at it and say, there is something wrong. If I try to tell my granddaughter, saying, what's wrong with you? Come on, get up. Or if I try to drag her, if I try to push her, if I try to do, it doesn't work. You must have heard of a young boy who was very empathetic. And he had in his garden, he had a pupa, or what you call a butterfly, was in a pupa for a long time. And slowly it was coming out of the cocoon. One day, as he was watching, it broke the bottom and then one wing had come out and it was still trying to come out. The boy, being so empathetic, it is struggling, I want to help. So he broke the other part of the cocoon. But unfortunately, when he broke it, the butterfly fell down and he realized that the other wing has not fully developed and it was struggling to get out. It was struggling to fly because it doesn't have the capabilities. So sometimes in being kind, when we try to help people to do things which they are not ready for, when we hurry it, we actually close their future. So to a certain extent, spirituality tells you that you are perfect as you are. We call in our spirituality, like in Vedanta, they call it, sometimes we are Amrutasya Putraha. That means we are children of immortality. We are not just evolutionarily coming from, fish to some, next tortoise and then, monkeys and then human beings. Yes, there is an evolution that takes place in an incremental way. But when people have studied the genetics, they know that even though in twins, identical twins, both of them have exactly the same DNA, but still some genes are not triggered. So genetics will determine some things, but environment will trigger some genes to what you call just open up or just activate. When they are activated, certain behaviors will come. So spirituality is something that allows us to optimistically, hopefully envision a future that is beyond our ego, that is beyond what is in it for me. So it allows us to think about a world that we are part of and that we are co-creating, that we can actually hopefully help the world to be a better world because we are in it. And that ability to think beyond what is in it for me. How can I make the world a better place because I'm born into that? That is what is called a spiritual aspiration. When we have that, the world becomes a kinder, gentler, more compassionate place and allows for the world itself to flourish instead of struggle. It's a longer answer, but I felt your question was deep. I didn't want to give a pithy, quick answer. So forgive me if I gave a very detailed answer for that.
No, sir, that was
No, sir, it was-
absolutely the thing that we wanted to know about.
And like you mentioned, the world becomes a better place if we try, like the law of oneness. Everyone is connected. Yeah.
See, when we say everyone is connected, and we also have, for example, in Upanishads and Vedas, they say what you call Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We say Vasudha means the world, the earth. Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam. That whole world is one family. But what we don't ask is, under what conditions the world becomes one family. There is a very beautiful, this is the last sentence of a 4-line sloka. It says, essentially, I am this and you are that, and these people are mine, those people are not mine. I will take care of them, I won't take care of them. That is not actually the good thing. But when I am kind and compassionate, then the world becomes one family. So, ayam nijaha paroveti ganana laguchetasam udara charitanam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. So you have to be a udara charitanam. That means you have to have a generous heart. That generous heartedness, thinking about world as a one family, is a spiritual characteristic. People who have got, just like we have IQ and EQ, intelligence and emotional intelligence, there is also spiritual quotient. People can have spiritual intelligence. As a matter of fact, one professor, Howard Gardner, is a good friend for 30 years. He is the one who invented something called theory of multiple intelligences. So he found that there are about 9 intelligences, and he calls spirituality also as one of the intelligences. He doesn't give it a full credit as the 10th intelligence, but he says it is an important part of it.
So the second question is about mental health.
Okay.
So as the pandemic has been going on for 2 years, there has been an increase in the mental ailments of people in the society. Can you give us some suggestions on how one can take the help of spirituality and deal with these ailments?
See, when we talk about what the pandemic has done, number one, it made us isolated. Number two, it completely changed the rules by which the schools or offices or, anything happens. It also changed the dynamics within the family. Like people who live in a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom now suddenly has to have 2 computers or 3 computers. And if they have 2 kids, the 2 kids are on 2 iPads or something, and 2 parents are in 2 computers. There are like 4 sets of people are on 4, what you might call a vision boxes. TV was the one vision box people used to operate from. Now we talk about 4 vision boxes. Its stock price has zoomed through, and Google has Google Meet, and Microsoft has come up with something else. So suddenly technology became our friend, and real people are people whom we don't see anymore. We only see through these tubes or through flat panels. what that allowed people to do was, number one, some people looked at it as a gift. People spent more time with their kids. People were able to take walks with themselves. They found a way in which they get to know about each other much more deeply, that they looked at it as a blessing from the pandemic. Some people have created so many headaches. Some people have created, they don't tolerate each other, whether they are brothers and sisters or family or anything else, or the place that they have is not good enough, or the technology that they have is not good enough, or the work that they do is not good enough. And also they realized all these artificial restrictions. Every day you have to come to work at so and so time, you have to go at so and so time. Your productivity as the number of hours in the office, and people were saying, oh, if you send people to home, they will not work, they will cheat, they will goof off, all of that stuff is not true, because majority of the companies, they found out people are working at least an hour to hour and a half longer than they would have. And as a matter of fact, now that you know that everybody is home, you always catch people. You always, don't have an excuse to tell your manager that I didn't see this or I couldn't do this. Everybody knows you are stuck in home. So what excuse do you have for not doing your homework, not finishing up your job? So in some respects, this has created what you might call a pressure cooker environment. In that pressure cooker environment, some people have found meaning. Some people have found new purpose. Some people brought new clarity. But many other people started struggling with depression, anxiety. There are all kinds of mental illnesses they did not have before, created trauma. All kinds of trauma is showing up now. So mental health field has expanded significantly, while people also found great opportunities. Now people who used to work only selling products to their neighbors and in their village, now they can sell it across the world. They can have a website, and they can, if they have some good product, they can sell it anywhere. And now people also know that they can offer, like swamis or what you call sons, or different people can give a lecture, and they can have audience from all around the world, and they can listen to the best teachers from law schools all around the world. So that means, as we said, the world as a small family, one family, Udara Charitanam tu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that has become true. But we haven't developed Udara Charitam, but we have developed anxious manas. We have become depressed attitude. Relationships all became, iPhones and Androids and Zoom. We are constantly looking into this small screen that we don't even know how to deal with somebody who is sitting next to us. Like for example, I found out recently when my wife is upstairs in the bedroom, when I'm sitting downstairs, I started texting her instead of just calling, hey, are you, or some of these things. We started texting each other, and we started doing FaceTime, or we started doing WhatsApps, even for people who are in the same room, same house, rather than something. We don't know how to talk to each other anymore. We don't know how to communicate without the social media. We don't know how to behave like normal beings, and we don't even know how people look like without their masks and without their, all their paraphernalia that comes in. So to a certain extent, people are feeling PTSD, like what you call post-traumatic stress syndrome, and they are going through large number of disorders. And so one thing that you can look at is their identity, their ego, and their emotional self. These three are affected in the pandemic. Spirituality and figuring out that who I am doesn't begin and end at where I am. As a matter of fact, who I am, I live in my students, I live in my family, I live in other people's hearts, and what they take away from me has got much to do with not only what I said as a teacher, as a coach, but also what I do, what I role modeled, what I practiced. As a matter of fact, people only listen to me, especially in family situation or in friend situation, if they saw me talking about what they observed me doing, then they did it. So that means being a role model is much more important than just saying something and doing something else. And all those things became much more important in a pandemic situation, because people see parents blatantly lying to their bosses and then telling the kids, saying you need to be honest and you need to be this one, but children didn't find any meaning anymore. So several of these mental, trauma situations can be resolved to a certain extent if we have something larger than our ego, larger than our identity that we believe in. If we believe in, whether you believe in Allah, whether you believe in Christ, whether you believe in Guru Granth Sahib, whether you believe in, Krishna, it doesn't matter. Something that you surrender to, something that you put your head down and say, please help me because I don't know how to help myself. That surrendering, that let go, takes the pressure off of the mind, pressure off of our emotions. Because when I say to, like in a Hindu prayer, one thing we say, Anyadha saranam nasti tvameva saranam mama. Anyadha, there is nobody else. Saranam, anyadha saranam. There is nobody else whom I can ask for saranam, that protection. Tvameva, only you I can ask for refuge. Please give it to me. When people lose faith in each other, when they see their parents, their teachers, all of them are as vulnerable, as weak, and as incompetent, and as much what you might call incomplete as we are, we need something that is more fulfilling, that is more purnam, like somebody whom we can look up to, some role models, some wonderful stories about our teachers, our gurus, our gods or goddesses. I think that will probably bring little bit more comfort, little bit more mental health in us. So those are some things I believe are more useful to, and that's the reason why spiritual energy is the one like a fan motor. Physical energy, emotional energy, intellectual energy are like the fan blades. Those are the things we think we are in control, because we are the one, like a fan blades are the one that are moving. You don't see the motor moving, but it is the silent, invisible motor that makes us move. Like somebody said, the difference in weight between a person who just died and before they died is almost zero. Soul's weight, nobody could measure. Life's weight, nobody could measure. So that means we have exactly the same organs. Without that life force, without that spiritual energy, we are nothing. When we can surrender to that consciousness, that divinity, or that awareness, whatever we want to call. If you give nama, rupa, guna, that means name, form, and characteristics, then we have gods and goddesses. When we don't have, we can call Brahman, or we can call energy, whatever we want to call. But I think that is extremely important. What pandemic has done is the need for spirituality has become much more important, and pandemic has brought it to the forefront, saying many of us, we live with ego as the beginning and the end. But ego is small when compared to the nature, when compared to the universe. When we can surrender that ego, then mental problems and also some of what we see can be removed, and we can grow to invisibly long, we can go to bigger goals, we can go farther, and we can accomplish a lot more that we cannot even envision or think in our own minds.
That was very insightful, sir. Thank you so much for that. And one more question we wanted to ask was, usually in life or if we want to specify more in our careers, there will be circumstances where we just want to give up and don't want to move on because the situation makes it that way. So, how can spirituality help us to lift ourselves up and keep moving no matter what happens?
I would like to add that there are many theories like when we are on a path to fulfill our dreams or purpose, there will be one great challenge after which we may achieve the dream. And
Okay.
usually it's like a test for us. So, and many people give up at that juncture, which is the most important one. So, like Niharika said, how can we identify and deal with it calmly and coolly?
Obviously, the dreams, visions, accomplishing something requires three things. We talked about all the three of them so far. Let me put it in a clearer way. If I do not have a vision of what I want to be, I will continue doing what I am doing, however frustrated, however boring, but I can dream about it. But if I don't have clarity of the dream, that will not end up becoming a vision for the future. If I think that, oh, I don't know what I want to study, I don't know what I want to be, then you will keep trying various type of stuff. But once you have a particular plan, even if that is not going to happen, but at least you have a direction to move forward. So vision gives you one such direction to move forward. Vision alone, like for example, both of you said, one of you said you want to be, animal rights and climate change, and then you wanted to be an ambassador. Both of you want to go to United Nations. Those are visions. Second one is you need to have passion for it. Like for example, there are lots of Indian kids. They either go to medicine or engineering or law. These days, law. Previously, law was not a primary option, right? And then, of course, half the engineers will go for MBA these days. Previously, it was not that way. They used to go for MTech. Now they go for MBA, right? Now, of course, now there are combination things like as you guys are doing integrated programs. Like you have 5 years or 4 years, it's all set, all of them, you continue to go in that way. When you choose that long careers, when you have this 5-year setup plan, let us say you lose interest in the middle of second year, what will you do? Then you're stuck. You have to start everything afresh, right? So to a certain extent, if you do not have the passion and persistence to go through different and difficult periods in between, you will never achieve your vision. Like somebody said, you need to have perseverance to deal with a lot of negative stuff. Passion is something that pushes you each time you fall down on your face. It allows you to stand up and keep going. That's what is passion. Not somebody else giving you like saying, oh, if you finish this, we will do that. If you finish that, this will happen. No, that will extrinsic motivation doesn't work. Context stuff, your own life and your own vision, you achieving that vision. You need passion that comes from within. These two are useful, but if you have vision and passion alone, you don't necessarily sometimes take action because you may be tamasic in nature, you may be rajasic in nature, you may be sattvic in nature, as they call gunas. But unless you have some kind of a accident or some kind of somebody pushing you, your mother or father or somebody pushing you, your best friend or something, you may not take action. Maybe because you are a fear-focused person or you are a person who doesn't want to take risks. So then what happens is, yeah, I could do that. I'm really interested, but I'm really afraid. You see what I'm saying? So the third is action. If you have passion and if you have vision, if you don't take action, you never move a single step. If you have vision and you have action, but you don't have passion, you become very frustrated with it. If you have passion and action, but if you don't have vision, it feels like wherever you go, there you are. Life becomes a drudgery. So all the three of them have to be aligned. Vision, passion, action. If action is here, if passion is here, vision is here, you are not going to achieve anything in your life also. Aligning the passion, vision, action to a certain extent, it requires purpose. It requires meaning. And what gives purpose and meaning is spirituality. So vision comes from intellect. Passion comes from your emotional energy. Action comes from your physical energy. But what gives purpose? Why do you do what you do? And what gives you meaning so that at the end of the night, you can sleep peacefully? These two are connected with spiritual. So when you connect purpose, vision, passion, action, and meaning, then you will have a meaningful and satisfied life.
Thank you so much, sir, for that really insightful answer.
My pleasure.
So the last question, sir.
Okay.
In our careers as lawyers and future diplomats, there will be situations where we are overwhelmed with anxiety because of all the people who are looking at us. And there may be situations where we are the only one standing and everyone in the room is listening to us.
Yeah.
And it may be unnerving for many people. And we may have a panic attack or an anxiety attack at that time. So it is very important to calm ourselves before we actually speak. How can we use some tips that spiritual teachings have to offer to calm this or make this go, the social anxiety?
The first and foremost is to recognize when you are given a such opportunity to make a large impact in front of large number of people, you need to look at it and say, I am not the one who is doing it. The spirit is flowing through me. I am just the right instrument to be at the right place to be used for this purpose by the spirit. So what am I saying in that? De-identify yourself. You are not the actor. You are not the doer. You are not the creator. It is not about your ego. It is not about you. Not because you are great that you are selected. Instrument of the divine that you are, act as an instrument of the divine. That means, na mama, not mine. I am not the one who is doing it. Like, imagine, like somebody asked a famous person who plays flute, how do you play that such beautiful music out of the flute? He says, look at this flute. It's a bamboo reed. I even made more holes in this reed. It is empty. From this side to that side, it is empty. Okay. And the flute doesn't determine the music. Flute is not the one who is blowing air into that. But without this flute, if I just say, that doesn't become a song. If the flute thinks, it is the one that is playing the music, and if it starts singing its own songs, not what I'm blowing air into, then I'll throw away that flute and then take something else. So what it means is, even though flute is the one that gives beautiful music, when flute thinks, I'm nothing but what you call a reed, bamboo reed, being used for a sacred purpose, and I have so many holes, the song doesn't belong to me, the air doesn't belong to me, and I'm grateful, and I have so much of gratitude that I'm being used as the flute to play this melodious music. Thank goodness that I'm being useful. When that attitude comes to the bamboo, it can play beautiful music. You may need to become those bamboo flutes yourselves. When you recognize you are put in that place by divine intervention or some circumstance, some synchronicity, the job is not about you. It is not about you shining, not about you looking very good, not about you making great arguments. You are put for a larger purpose. Serve that purpose. So develop that surrender feeling. I am surrendering to the larger purpose who gave me this opportunity to present to this group of people. With humility, with gratitude, I'm going to make this presentation to you. When you come from that humility, that will attract something magical. When you look at it as, this is not my presentation, this is not my show. I'm just a small instrument. This is what they call dasa bhavana in some of the what you call spiritual bhakti tradition, they call, like a Ramadas, Kabir Das. When you talk about Kabir Dohas, or like somebody asked, there is a beautiful book. I do not know whether it is still available. You guys, I highly encourage you to buy that book and read it. It's a small stories book. It's called Song of the Bird by Anthony DeMillo. Okay. He passed away several years ago, maybe 20 years ago, but the book is still Gujarat Sahitya Prakashan. I think they make it. It is probably still available. Song of the Bird by Anthony DeMillo. And what it says is the name of this book is by a small story. Somebody asks, why does a bird sing? Does the bird sing because it want to sing a top 40 on the chart, or it because some famous singer has announced that this is how it is going to be, or because somebody will give $1 million, or because it won song competition? Bird sings because it's expression of joy. Bird sings because it has a song. It does not sing in order to get something, in order to go somewhere, in order to be recognized. If you are a lawyer, if you are a diplomat, and if you are given an opportunity to present to somebody, it is not given so that Richa Singh can be known as a famous lawyer, or a Niharika will be a great diplomat. It is given because you can do that job well. When you have that humility to recognize, you are not great because you are given an opportunity. You are great because you are able to do the job greatly. When you do that, that feeling will keep you humble. That feeling will also take you to places you cannot go by yourself. Thank you very much. I enjoyed speaking with you. You both have wonderful questions. I look forward to seeing you again. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm extremely grateful that you have taken out your time and answered our questions. It has been very insightful. Thank you so much again.
You're very welcome.